Welcome to the What to Read Next podcast. In this podcast, your host, Lori Amin, will interview published authors to chat about their work, journey to getting published, and their book recommendations. If you share a passion for books and always looking for your next read, then join us. Hi, Emma. Welcome to What to Read Next podcast.
Hi. Thank you so much for having me again.
So happy to have you here. So tell us what you've been up to.
So it was it in 2020 that we last talked?
2020, I believe
around
the fall 2020.
Okay. So yeah, after that I wrote and published The Last Piece of His Heart. And now I'm working on a new book, and pretty much, since we've been, quarantined that whole time, like not much has happened, honestly. I did get to finally go to Hawaii, because not necessarily for vacation, but we're going to actually move to Hawaii this summer. And so we're just kind of scoping out the islands. And so I did get to do that. That was pretty fun.
Oh my gosh. So moving to the beach. Are you excited?
Yeah. Yeah. I am. I just feel like it's a good place. Like, it's a really kind of a spiritual place, honestly. And it has just such a nice vibe, and it's really relaxed. And we just all feel that it'd be a good place to kind of start the next chapter. And like, I think I can write, some more really good books there. I hope,
Mm-hmm.
and just kind of, try something different for a while.
I love it. Yeah. Are you familiar with the climate? Like, it's like 80 degrees. It's always like warm.
Oh yeah. No,
that's
what I want. I get cold when it's like 72. So I am all about like being warm constantly. I'm looking forward to never wearing jeans ever again. Like, it's all good on that front.
Yeah, I grew up in the Caribbean, so I'm like familiar with that. And I was like, yeah, it's like,
really?
It's so nice. It's like 80-degree weather all year round.
Oh, that's so cool.
I'm like,
whereabouts?
I should move to somewhere more and just like have no hard pants rule,
But you moved from the Caribbean to Chicago. I can't imagine a different
actually,
climate ever.
Well, I lived in Syracuse. I went to school at Syracuse, which is like, I did not realize it's the snowiest place on earth. Like, not on earth, but like in the States. It's like a pretty snowy place. And then I moved to New York, DC, and then New York. And I lived in New York for 14 years. So like, I've been in like cold weather for like 20 years. But I grew up in Puerto Rico. Like, I was like, my family still lives there. So every time I go Christmas, it's always like warm weather. Like, I've never had like, it was like when I moved here, I had like the whole idea of white Christmas, like snow, but I'm like, that did not exist,
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. I'd love to go to Puerto Rico someday. I've heard only that it's beautiful and warm. So
it is beautiful and warm.
Puts it on my list.
It is beautiful and warm. It just like, it's similar to Miami in many ways. Like, it's Spanish speaking, but it's a very Americanized city. So there's pretty much all the amenities like you can imagine in any city. But it's just like nice beaches and just like fun, hiking places and stuff like that. So, but you'll have that in Hawaii. So you have places to go for hiking or, and go to the beach.
Yeah, I got to be careful. The last time I went hiking, I was in Kauai when we were also in our island hunt, and I ended up blowing out my knee. So I might have to be careful on the hike, stick to the beaches and stuff.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So the last piece of his heart was the latest book you released. Tell us a little about it. Why should we read pick it up, and what do you enjoy about writing?
Well, that's the last book in my Lost Boy series. They're all standalones, like they're interconnected. It kind of follows like these three friends, Miller, Holden, and Ronan. And The Last Piece of His Heart is Ronan's book. So their kind of like friendship and bromance, so to speak, is like, of those three guys, is kind of like a thread that goes through the whole series. So although you can read them separately and still follow the plot, no problem, it's kind of like the romances in each book are kind of like companion to the friendship that these three guys had. And you can get like the full arc of the story if you start at the beginning with the girl in the love song. But if not, it's fine too. The Last Piece of His Heart is Ronan's kind of like the bad boy of the three. You have Miller, who's like the poor boy, like the wrong side of the tracks, who becomes a rock star. And then you've got Holden, who he's had a pretty troubled past, and he and his love interest River are kind of like dealing with just, coming out and, learning to accept themselves and that sort of thing. And then with Ronan, like, he's the bad boy. He's had a traumatic past. I put all my characters through such trauma.
Oh, we're gonna talk about that.
Okay. And his love interest is Shiloh, and she is this jeweler in the making. She's like, her talent is creating jewelry, and she has her own kind of familial issues that she's working through, and they kind of come together. They're like really strong and stubborn. They kind of come together and realize that they're like, stubbornly, they're perfect for each other, and it's their story. So I really love that one, and I love it because, well, it's the last one, and I feel like I said, with the friendship of the three, it kind of like, not only does it wrap up Ronan and Shiloh's story and they get their happily ever after, but the kind of all of the Lost Boys come full circle. So it's special for that reason too. I'll miss them.
Oh, I love this. And so let's talk about, like, you write some angsty, some emotional reads. Like, what's the writing process for you to get in that headspace to write those stories, to take the reader on a journey? Like, literally, I know they're gonna be happy in the end, but you take us on a journey.
Yeah, they have to work for it, I guess. I don't know, to get in the headspace, I think everybody, part of the reason why I write that way, I'm really interested in exploring how people in general get through hardships in life and trying to come out on the other side. And I like writing about, like, strength and maybe not knowing you have strength to do it, and then coming through anyway, or like finding your inner strength, or finding your inner, love for yourself, not just love with someone else. And I really like that, like, idea of, people conquering the hardships and traumas in their life and coming out on the other side. Because I think everybody has that to some degree or another. I know most people do. That's what life does. It kind of tests us. And so I like writing about characters who are tested and who don't cave under that, and who come out the other side, and who, like, learn through loving someone else. They don't, like, fix each other, these characters, but the love that each one gives the other helps boost them and gets them through. And I feel like everybody has that within them, and it may seem impossible or hopeless, but it's really not. And so I put these characters through so much, and they come out the other side, because I'm hoping to convey that anyone else, any reader, can do that too. That if, like, these guys go through such, hard stuff and come out, anyone else can too. It's just about, like I said, finding that inner strength, and not even finding it, but just knowing it's there, believing that it's there. So I think that's what I've been saying with all these heavier topic books.
I love this. Yeah, I think it's like, we all go through trauma. We all go through like emotional turmoil, obstacles, like, so it's like, I think it's important, like, for us to, as readers, to go look at romance. It's like, it's a reflection on, like, some stuff that you have gone through, and, like, helping you see, like, how another person had gone through it, or
exactly,
or showing you what a toxic relationship looks like, or what is a healthy relationship looks like, and what works and what doesn't work, what boundaries, like, all these different topics are, like, reflected when you read, and you can actually explore it and see, like, it can actually, smash patriarchy and smash all the different toxic, stuff. Like, it gives you, like, a whole blueprint of how to do things differently,
Exactly. And I feel like, some people say, oh, well, your stuff is pretty heavy. Well, there's, like, a ton of other romance authors who don't deal with maybe heavier stuff. And a reader can find, I think, the kind of love story that they want to experience. And it could be like, one day it's a light, fluffy rom-com. The next day they want to go a little darker. The next day they want, something that I've written or something. And it just kind of is like what you're saying. It's, the love is such a universal thing that all humans experience. And, like, to see these different stories and to go through these different stories, I think it's just a reflection of, like, humanity in general. So when people diss romance novels, I get all mad, because that's like, we're showing, like, and revealing and writing really in depth about the strongest energy basically there is in the world. So there.
Yes. I love this. Yes. So shout about self-care in the pandemic. So what's your self-care looks like now?
I've, in the pandemic, we're all sitting at, staying at home, but I always stay at home anyway, basically, because I work from home, and I'm in my jammies all day, and I'm at the computer typing, and I don't really go out too much. So it didn't change all that much for me in that sense, except I didn't get to travel, that is a self-care thing, actually. I love traveling. I love like going to book signings and meeting my readers in person and talking to them and getting hugs and giving hugs and telling them thank you for all you do. And so that sucked, not having been able to do that. But at home, the Peloton is my self-care thing. I mean, I talk about it so much, people probably think I'm like getting paid, but I'm not. I swear. I just love it. It's just such a great way to get exercise. I don't have to leave the house. I don't have to, worry about, oh, I'm at the gym and what are people going to say, blah, 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 all that crap. You just get on, you ride, and the instructors are amazing. And they're like, it's like therapy and motivation and exercise all in one. So that's my key thing. If I didn't have my bike, I'd be not a happy camper.
So I got a bike recently too. So I got a
You did?
I did.
Awesome.
I did. I used to spend in New York, and I was like justified. It's like it's cheaper than spinning in a group studio. So I was like, and I can do it as many times as I want.
And you don't have to worry about like traffic or weather or anything. It's like I just love it. Oh, that's awesome. Who's your favorite instructor?
So I'm still trying to figure out. I like when Cody goes on tangents about Britney Spears and like JT and JT.
I love Cody so much. He's like one of my top guys. I just adore him.
He is. I actually, because I live in New York, I used to take the actual studio classes.
Cool.
Back in the day, I was in the studio audience. Like there should be there's probably some old school this is like a few years ago. Classes
I'm gonna totally look for you.
So
I'm gonna go back in the catalog and try and find you.
Yeah, I have to look for it. But yeah, I was like, it's funny enough. Like I'm like, because it was one of the few studios that offer free shoes, and that was the reason why I took the classes, because I was like, most of the classes it adds up, like it's $40 plus the shoes, plus the water, plus this, and I'm like, free shoes. I'm like, count me in. So I have an affinity for Peloton because it was like free shoes. But I like Ali Love. I like her. I took an Japan class and I was like dying. So I feel like it's a little too hard for me yet, but I just need some more practice for it.
There's definitely different instructors for what you're in the mood for or what you feel like you can handle that day, for sure. Like if I'm feeling tired, I don't do Robin. I know she's going to kick my ass. And like Allie's kind of tough. Jess King is one of my faves. I love her. She's a therapist. 100%.
She's a therapist. She's like spiritual. Like I think she reminds me of that, like self-help, spiritual, guru, like you still. And like I go for that vibe, and I follow like a lot of fitness instructors and are taking their classes because I'm like, I get my spiritual food thanks to
you. Totally do.
It's like going to church.
And I think it's like amazing the different kind of motivations that you can get from them. I totally agree. And I think their only flaw was in their marketing, not conveying how amazing their instructors are, and trying instead to go for the home fitness angle, which is fine, but you get so much more than that. So, I love Peloton. Cheers to Peloton.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes. It's all about Peloton. What's your favorite trope to write?
My favorite trope. Gee, that's a good question. I've been thought about it too, and I'm like, I don't know if I can name it, or like, I guess friends to lovers that I seem to write a lot of, but not like where that's kind of obvious. I don't know. I like that. I'm not a fan of like enemies or bullies or anything like that. I kind of tend to stay away from that. I don't know. I just sort of like heavy.
I think you're like you have like a niche of heavier topic, like more like it's gonna make me cry. It's gonna make me feel the feelings. I think that's probably like
I'm okay with that.
Yeah,
I'm okay with that.
I think that's your niche.
Yeah. I think this next one though, the one I'm currently writing, I think it is probably gonna be slightly lighter. I think, and I can't talk too much about. I don't want to talk too much about it because I want to kind of keep that. It's different. It's way different than anything I've written so far. Mm-hmm. I definitely think it's on the lighter side, but I was thinking, maybe I'll write a rom-com, and then we could not go there. We tried, so it's a lighter version of what I do, but not quite a rom-com. I think someday maybe I'll try a rom-com, but I don't know, I'm not in headspace for that yet.
Yeah, I think you just have to be in the headspace, and like if you're comfortable just being in that space and you're bringing something to the reader that they're looking for, you have an audience that are like looking for that book, and so it's okay. Like if you're not in the headspace for a rom-com, like it can be fine if you're just like you just take a lighter load as opposed to being like a heavier load. And sometimes you're in the space for a heavier load and you just a heavier load,
Exactly. And I think The Lost Boys was pretty heavy. It was like 3 pretty heavy books all in a row. The first one, not quite as much as the last 2, but still pretty heavy. And so, I do want to be true to what I need to do as a storyteller, but you're right. Like I think even I needed a break a little bit from the super heaviness of it. So doing this next one, it still has like a lot of the elements that that I tend to gravitate toward. But yeah, I think it's a teeny bit on the lighter side. We'll see. I could be completely wrong by the end of it. No, I'll leave it to the readers. I don't really like to even like talk about what I do. I'm like, I'll let the readers say, because you guys are the ones that, can like, I don't know, like categorize what it does for you.
Yes. Oh my gosh. So let's chat some book recommendations. Is there any book that you have read that you recommend? Any other authors you should check out?
Well, I tend to try to not read too much romance, honestly, because I feel like, I'm trying to like, I don't know, I feel like if I read too much romance, I might start inadvertently pulling things that from other stories, and I don't want to do that. It's hard enough already, honestly, to come up with plots. There's that old saying that like every story has already been told, and I really don't want to like be derivative as much as is possible. And so I tend to read a lot of nonfiction and some more like women's literature type novels. I'm currently reading City of Girls by Elizabeth Gilbert. I don't know that I recommend it yet. I'm so early on, but she's really fun, and I love her. But as far as our romance goes, I do read some, and I love Kennedy Ryan. I don't think anything I recommend is going to be like, oh, who is that? It's going to be like people, Kennedy. Kennedy's awesome. I love Kate Stewart. Oh, and I read Robin Leaves the Idea of You. I know I'm really late to the boat on that one.
Oh my gosh,
but yes. Oh my God, I love that book so much. And I'm like, well, damn, I can never write an age gap romance ever because she already wrote it. And it's how I would want to write it, with a rock star. And like, oh, it's just perfect. I'm like, okay, well, I missed the boat on that one. But yeah, I got to read that one.
Yes.
That one I highly recommend.
I agree with the idea of you. I feel like that's like book, like it's not a romance, it's a love story, whatever it is, but it's just so good. It's like Harry Styles fan fiction, like world traveler, like the age gap, the angst about it. Oh,
so it's just perfect. And it's just perfect because the heroine is exactly believable. There's no other heroine who would a young, hot, rich rock star is going to fall for, if not someone who's sophisticated and has the ability to travel like he does, and has her own money and has her own independence. Like, I don't know, I thought it was just so well done. Done.
Yes. I feel like this conversation has been all about like angsty romance, like, and stuff, but we've been talking about like things that I'm interested in, like Peloton, Idea of You.
We're just like, oh, we'll leave all that.
Yeah, like let's talk about like the other stuff that makes you makes you like fun, so
totally.
So tell us where you can find you online.
EmmaScottWrites.com is my website, and then you can subscribe there. People can subscribe there if they want to get my newsletter, which I try not to be spammy at all. It's very like, it's once a month, and there's going to be a lot of like free content. Like you can get bonus scenes from Girl in the Love Song and other books. I'm going to start putting more free content through the newsletter, so subscribers can get that and kind of see where the characters are, checking in with them and that kind of thing. And I'm on Instagram at Emma Scott Writes also, and then I have my Facebook page, Emma Scott Author, I believe. And then I'm on Twitter, but I don't really. Twitter's where I go just to kind of talk about stuff. I'm really bad at promoting my books on Twitter. Oh, I'm on Bite in Maine too. Bite in Maine. I do have an account there, so I would say those are the best places for like book related content. And then you can just find me on my personal page or Twitter if you want to like talk about other stuff or rant. I tend to rant on Twitter, so I don't really promote that too much.
I feel like that's like a good place for Twitter. I love like following authors. I'm like, yes, I agree with you, with the rants and just stuff. I'm like, okay, this is good,
I know, it's like where I get my news, and then if the news is like making me angry or like upset, then I try not to, but that's where I go to vent a little bit. And you can always tell if I'm in a bad mood because I'm more vocal on Twitter. You can see, oh, okay, she's having a bad day.
I love this. Well, thank you, Emma, for being on the show.
Thank you so much for having me again. It's so nice talking to you, even though, well, we did talk about books. We got some book talk in there.
Okay. If you enjoyed this podcast, feel free to share with friends, subscribe, rate, and review the show. This is the easiest way to support the podcast. For book recommendations, author interview archives, and other fun book resources and tips, please visit watchrenexblog.com. The Watch Read Next podcast is part of the Frolic Network. To discover new shows to listen and love, please visit frolic.media/podcast. Thank you so much for listening and have a great day.